video games. Ever since the dawn of man, we have strived to make good video games. Sometimes we succeed, and sometimes EA is involved. But even so, there are some games that are undeniable milestones in video game history, and today I'm going to talk about 10 of those. Keep in mind, this is my opinion. Feel free to shit on me in the comments. So without further ado, before Red Dead Redemption 2, I had no idea what a good story in a video game was. My standard was fucking Assassin's Creed. The story in Red Dead Redemption 2 is so amazing that it left me thinking about it days after I finished it. There is no doubt that the amount of detail is insane and the game is stunning. There's only one reason why this game is not higher up on the list.
The game is
boring. See what I mean? The game is so reluctant to just let you get to the good part. And even after 10 million trailing missions, the shooting is kind of shallow and feels very light. So, even with its multiple flaws, Red Dead Redemption 2 will go down as an achievement in video game storytelling. Left 4 Dead 2 is the best co-op game ever made, period. If you don't want to go over a path full of zombies and blow their brains out with a shotgun with your friends, don't ever talk to me. There are tons of different maps to traverse and different types of zombies to kill that just never gets old. Not only that, but the community is one of the best there are. You can find a mod for basically anything, which makes the game that much funnier when you play it with friends. Come on! You really thought this wasn't gonna be on the list? Only a freaking moron wouldn't want to turn on the Switch and smash your friends. Everyone loves a good Smash, but Smash Bros. Is the best one out there. You can be a crocodile. You can be a bird. You can be a Mario. You can be a stripper. The millions of mechanics always keep the game fresh, and it's never not a good time to smash. This indie gem was released alongside steep indie competition like Hollow Knight and Dead Cells. Even so, Cuphead stands out with extremely inspired art style, extraordinary music, and just brutal difficulty. After going at a boss for hours, dodging its abilities, and being humiliated by its jazzy music, when you finally hear the iconic "Knockout!" it is one of the best feelings ever. If you haven't played this game yet, go do it right now, because you're missing out on one of the best games ever made. The Last of Us is one of the most important video games of all time. It set the foundation for many story-driven games to come. The story of Joel and Ellie and their journey is so endearing that it's impossible not to fall in love with the story and its characters, with a growing relationship between the two that was never boring to watch. The ending leaves you with a strange feeling of satisfaction and at the same time wanting more. Not only that, but the gameplay, even with some shallow mechanics, is always fun. That's right, Super Mario Odyssey! This game is an absolute joy to play. At no point can you ever feel bored while playing this game. You can jump, throw your hat, dive, spin, roll, you can even be a tree. This game is filled with inspired sandboxes and fun linear challenges that it almost feels like a steal that the game isn't at least double the length. Not only that, but the festival in New Donk City is one of the most joy-inducing moments in gaming history. If you don't feel excited while playing this game, then you are a husk.
Jump with me, grab coins with me, oh yeah!
Breath of the Wild looked at gameplay of all open world games and said, yeah, that shit fucking sucks. Normally in an open world game, you have one specific story mission and one place where you need to go. If you go any other way, you're playing the game wrong. Occasionally, you'll meet a quirky NPC that needs your help. Now, Breath of the Wild, on the other hand, spread the game all throughout the map. So no matter what you're doing, you're progressing the story and you're doing the right thing. You also have abilities in your Sheikah slate that allow you to do basically anything you can think of, making for one of the most successful systemic games. This new approach to open world gameplay is a revolutionary one, and hopefully one that every game studio will look and realize that their own style of open world is fucking boring. Oh, we're getting into the big boys now. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 will forever be classics. And with Mario's moveset now severely limited, it caused the level design to be some of the best Nintendo has ever made. With so many different galaxies to explore and a great orchestral soundtrack, it's hard not to have a blast while playing these games. Even though there is no ray tracing, 120 FPS 4K performance mode, these games are still landmarks of video game history. Bloodborne is the Dark Souls of Dark Souls games. The bosses is the Dark Souls of Super Monkey Ball. Unlike any other From Software game, the setting of Bloodborne is a dark, vast city, where it is always night and never has the sun once hit the world. This is a weird pick for me, because I got stuck in the second Dark Souls 3 boss and never played the game again. But Bloodborne has such a unique art direction with a beautiful gothic city with Lovecraftian enemies that I just couldn't put it down. The gameplay and combat of Bloodborne doesn't offer the same amount of variety or abilities as a game like God of War, but the amount of funny weapons that are just different variations of the same sword, different types of builds you can do, a unique attire that makes you look like a badass make the game an unforgettable and infinitely replayable game. When I started playing, I thought that I just wanted to beat some bosses and thought that nobody plays these games for the story. But the story is surprisingly deep and detailed. And in a completely unexpected move, the ending left me completely speechless moving into the credits. If you quit other From Software games because they were too hard, Bloodborne isn't any different, but it makes it all worth it in the end. The Last of Us Part 2 improves upon every single aspect of the first game. With adding a dodge button, the gameplay has a whole other layer of depth to it instead of just spamming square. The shooting is the most satisfying shooting ever in a third-person shooter, with the gun recoiling and exploding under fire. There are a lot more options on how to approach any encounter, and with bigger and longer levels, this game is much more game-like than the first. But the thing that made this game be number one is the story. The story is the boldest and bravest story ever in a video game. The premise is more creative than any other, and the characters are explored with much more depth than most games. The last 3 hours are where their story shines the most, with emotions reaching from frustration, sadness, anger, and everything in between. It is the only game that has made me cry non-stop for 3 hours straight, and the game was on my mind the next 2 weeks after finishing the game. Go play this game right now, as it's one of the most unique experiences ever. So that was my list. If you disagree, fuck you. But also, let me know what your picks are in the comments. Just please no swearing, guys. My mom checks the comment section.